You wake up, and the world is quiet. Not the soft, restful quiet of early morning, but the deep, hollow absence of something essential. No birds, no wind, no hum of cities in the distance, just stillness, as if the earth itself is holding its breath. And somewhere in that silence, you feel it. This isn't peace, it's aftermath. There have been at least 3 times in Earth's history when the world didn't just change, it reset. Moments when nearly everything was lost, not just species, but atmospheres, oceans, rhythms of light and temperature, entire definitions of life. These weren't just natural disasters. They were cosmic edits, removals so complete, so final, that even memory struggled to survive them. And we're only here because someone, held on long enough to begin again. I want to take you through those collapses, not as a sequence of facts, but as echoes, to feel what it meant for the skies to go dark, for oxygen to become a poison, for oceans to freeze to their core. Not to scare you, but to understand something deeper, that life on Earth has never been safe. It's been persistent. Picture a girl standing at the edge of a dry lake. The cracked mud beneath her feet once held galaxies of microscopic life. Now it's dust. Behind her, wind-scoured stones remember an ancient sea. Ahead, only heat waves and silence. She doesn't speak. She listens. She waits. And in that stillness, she senses a truth. The planet has ended before, more than once. Not with explosions, but with quiet erasures. We'll explore 3 such moments. One drowned in oxygen, one crushed by fire, one frozen into stillness. Each reset the world. Each gave rise to a different Earth. But before we go back, let me ask you something. What if the most important stories are the ones Earth buried in silence? It began slowly, microscopic architects drifting in ancient seas, exhaling a gas that didn't yet belong. Oxygen. What we breathe today as life was once a toxin, a radical, reactive substance that changed everything it touched. It wasn't meant to fill the air, but cyanobacteria didn't care about plans. Roughly 2.4 billion years ago, the Great Oxygenation Event began. Earth's atmosphere transformed, poisonous to the dominant anaerobic life that had flourished for eons. The oceans rusted, iron oxidized, fell as sediment, and the sky turned blue not with promise but with consequence. This was the planet's first mass extinction, caused not by impact or fire, but by breath, and yet without it we wouldn't exist. Imagine the girl now underwater, suspended in a prehistoric ocean surrounded by greenish light. Tiny cells swirl around her, releasing invisible clouds of oxygen. She reaches out, and the water shimmers. Somewhere above, the surface breaks into air for the first time. But below, the darkness deepens. Thousands of species disappear, quietly suffocated by a future they could never adapt to. That's the paradox of survival. What gives life to one can erase another. Today, the oxygen in your lungs is legacy, a monument to microbial upheaval. We call it life, but it arrived wrapped in extinction. And here's the strange part. The rise of oxygen cooled the planet, triggered ice ages, destabilized the chemistry of oceans, and may have stalled evolution for millions of years. It wasn't a simple upgrade. It was a brutal rewrite. So what happens when the first breath is also a death sentence? 66 million years ago, daylight ended. Not forever, but long enough. A rock, just 10 kilometers wide, fell from the sky with more force than 1 billion nuclear bombs. It struck what is now the Yucatan Peninsula and vaporized everything nearby in seconds. But the real catastrophe came after. Dust, ash, and sulfur filled the sky, blocking sunlight for months, maybe years. Photosynthesis collapsed, food chains unraveled, forests burned, temperatures plummeted. Dinosaurs died not just from the impact, but from the aftermath. It was extinction by shadow. For millions of years, dinosaurs ruled the earth. Then one day, they didn't. And the world that rose after belonged to mammals, to forests, to us. But that inheritance came at the cost of almost everything. Visualize the girl now walking through ash. The sun is a dim circle behind a curtain of soot. Around her, burned trees rise like skeletal fingers. She picks up a blackened feather, delicate, ruined, almost weightless. Somewhere nearby, an egg lies shattered in cooling soil. No predator, no struggle, just absence. This was not just the end of dinosaurs. It was the collapse of systems, the loss of equilibrium. It reminds us that complexity doesn't mean resilience. Sometimes the more intricate the web, the easier it is to tear apart. And the irony? This cataclysm may have paved the way for human intelligence. Without that rock, No mammals. Without mammals, no hominids. Without extinction, no us. So is catastrophe the parent of consciousness. Now imagine a world without color. No green, no blue, just white. Endless, unbroken, silent. This is Earth during Snowball Earth, perhaps the most extreme ice age in planetary history. A time when glaciers reached the equator and oceans froze a kilometer thick. Nearly all photosynthetic life died. The planet was still, but not dead. It's believed this happened around 700 million years ago. A chain reaction of atmospheric shifts, volcanic outgassing, and reflectivity pushed Earth into deep freeze. Even the equator, the thermal heart of the world, was locked in ice. Only a few pockets near volcanic vents at the ocean floor stayed warm. Life retreated there, tiny, blind, waiting. Picture the girl now standing alone on a frozen plain. The wind howls, but the sound is swallowed by snow. Her breath clouds the air. Beneath her, buried under layers of ice, is the memory of continents. The sun hangs low, cold and indifferent. She kneels and touches the ice. For a moment, nothing. Then, deep underfoot, a flicker of warmth. A hydrothermal pulse. Life. Snowball Earth may have nearly ended complex life before it began. But when the planet thawed, it rebounded with an evolutionary explosion. The Cambrian radiation. It's as if the pressure of extinction built up behind the glass, and when it cracked, life burst out in forms never seen before. Sometimes, freezing is a kind of gestation. And the real mystery? We still don't know exactly how Earth thawed. Greenhouse gases from volcanoes, a shift in orbit, a cosmic coincidence. We live on a planet with memory gaps, eras lost beneath layers of time and silence. What else has Earth forgotten? In every extinction, something remains. Not the strongest, not the most intelligent, but the unnoticed, the hidden, the adaptable. After the oxygen crisis, after the asteroid, after the global freeze, life didn't restart with glory, it restarted with persistence. Microbes, scavengers, burrowers, extremophiles that thrived in boiling vents and acid pools. Life didn't fight back, it endured. We often think survival is heroic, but survival is often invisible. The girl now sits in a dim cave, lit by bioluminescent fungi. Tiny organisms cling to stone walls, pulsing with faint light. She traces a line in the dirt where something once crawled. No cities, no history, just the stubborn fact of presence. After the dinosaurs, it wasn't just mammals that survived. It was mammals like us, small, nocturnal, warm-blooded, soft, vulnerable things, the things that hid. The fossil record is a hall of absences, but between the gaps, a pattern forms. Simplicity wins where strength fails. We don't remember the survivors by name, but we owe them everything. And that's the uncomfortable truth. Evolution doesn't reward greatness. It rewards continuity. So what kind of species are we? One day this will all be gone. Not in fire, not in ice, not in a single apocalypse, but in slow erosion. In silence. Cities will sink, languages will vanish, satellites will fall. The Earth will forget us the way it forgot the trilobites, the ammonites, the forests of Carboniferous time. We will be a layer in the rock. And yet, right now, we are alive. We think, we love. We tell stories about the world ending, while the world continues. The girl stands at the edge of a cliff, looking down at a valley filled with morning mist. Behind her, ruins half swallowed by vines. Before her, the rising sun. She doesn't cry. She breathes. She knows it won't last. But she also knows it's beautiful anyway. The greatest lesson of Earth's lost worlds isn't fear. It's perspective. That we are part of a long, fragile, recursive story. That endings are beginnings in disguise. That collapse makes space for transformation. So we should live as if our story matters, because someday, someone might find the trace of it and wonder, who were they? And maybe, just maybe, we'll be remembered. Or maybe we won't. What if that's okay?